to make this to the meeting official. I'm going to start the roll call. Okay with you, Mr. David Acey here, Casey Bryant. Who's up?
Let me just make one
Sure.
announcement. If everyone, when you're talking, if you will speak up, our court reporter is listening via conference call, so she will need to hear what we're saying. So when you're making comments, if everyone will speak up so she can hear us.
Can y'all hear me pretty good? I want to make sure it's not me. My wife says me. I say it's her ears. You're getting pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and, again, David Acey. Here. Casey Bryant. Jim Jarter. Ron Gillum.
Present.
Lydia Jackson.
Here.
Marie Finney. Ricky Floyd. Here. John Merrick. Nicholas Agaris. Here. Sandeep Pettifer. Hazel Moore. Here. Ralph White. Here. Okay, we do have the numbers and we're going to get started in that we do it a little bit. I'm going to go into our notes that we put down. Did I put them out away? Oh, okay. Appreciate it. Okay. Now, I want you to just take a brief look at the meeting minutes from our last meeting. We're just going to pass for a second time. We'll come back to the minutes after you have heard our guest. So we're going to have, at this particular time, to kind of set the format, there were some letters that we extended to the police director, and he's accepted the invitation to come and address this group relative to some of the things that we mentioned in that letter. And so he's going to come, and we're going to give him about 5 minutes to, I'm just kidding, Director, you're going to get more time than that. But we're going to give him an opportunity to come and address us in his own way, in reference to this or in reference to any other comments he may want to make to the board. So I'm going to present Director Rollins at this time.
No, ma'am. No, thank you. Good afternoon. First, I'd like to thank Ms. Wilson for the invitation to attend today's meeting. I also want to thank the board members who are presently here today for your service. As you know, I support your efforts and work with this board and definitely support the charge that you have and what you're doing. So, Pastor White, I do agree with you that the CLERB can be a valuable tool for the city and has the potential to address issues of mistrust within our community. As you may be aware, I reviewed the findings and recommendations of this board very thoroughly. As this board is aware, I have received specific recommendations regarding matters that were reviewed by CLERB, and I have agreed to act upon some of those recommendations. Now, while I may not reach the same findings as the board, I'll continue to be receptive to your findings and your recommendations. As an example, I brought with me the information bulletin that was issued department-wide as a result of a matter that was reviewed by this board. I've also agreed with the board to continue to provide training department-wide on subjects relatively to the First Amendment and culture sensitivity training that we do a substantial amount with our recruits, and also doing in-service training and also doing specialized training. If I look at our annual report, and I'll leave this with you, Chairman, the 2017 Inspection of Service Annual Report, our complaints are down substantially. If we look at some specifics in regards to the report, our internal affairs, so we're looking at 17 to 16, and I'll pass this on here in a second. But if we look at our annual report, internal affairs, total complaints down 32%, security squad total down 8%, firearms discharges down 9%, the inspectional services total case count down 19%. Allegation count down 19%. Walk-in complaints down 41%. We did have a slight increase, 10 telephone complaints, but that's good. We do want people calling internal affairs. And our workstation complaints went down 9%. If we look at 15, 16, and 17, it's even more drastic reduction. So we think that this is a result of officers adhering to policy, training, obviously deployment citywide of body-worn cameras and in our uniform patrol and special ops, and that the fact that our officers do genuinely care and desire to serve and protect the citizens of Memphis. I do recognize that we must work together. However, there are going to be times when we have to agree to disagree. The ultimate goal for both CLERB and I as the police director is to ensure that officers under my command are on a daily basis policing the city pursuant to the United States Constitution and the laws of the state of Tennessee. And some of you may be aware, you may not be aware, that we've been working with the Department of Justice over the last 6 months on an initiative called Technical Assistance. It started with collaborative reforms, and the Attorney General made some adjustments, and it transitioned to technical assistance. The 3 main areas that we're looking at, and actually we're kind of toward the end of working with DOJ. One is community policing. There's been a comprehensive review of the police department and our efforts within community policing. The other one is wellness, and then the one that's probably most appropriate or of most interest to you will be in the area of de-escalation. So we'll, DOJ will help continue. We're looking at policies and doing a number of things to make the department better. So I will take a few questions. I didn't come to specifically address anything in specifically because we respond to you in writing on everything that we do, but I will take a few questions while I'm here.
Real quick question, Director. We had a case a couple months ago where an individual filed a complaint against one of your officers. It was kind of hard for us to decide which way to go in that particular case. I think at the end, I supported the officers, but the officer that the individual filed a complaint against did not have his body cam on. And I think we were stuck with the fact that he only received a written reprimand. I mean, is that typically, the punishment for an officer for not having his body cam on when he should?
So we generally don't use punishment. We don't punish officers. If there's a policy violation, we try to take corrective action. Sometimes that results in training or discipline. And you know that a written reprimand is part of the disciplinary chain that can go from written all the way up to termination. So I don't know the exact case that you're talking about, but I do know that in every situation, that sometimes the officer tries to turn it on, or sometimes stuff happens so fast they may not have an opportunity. So I'd have to look at that specific case to tell you why. We do have a policy that covers the use of body-worn camera, but you know that we try to look at the severity of the offense and then the officer's resume, the disciplinary resume. So if you got a speeding ticket, the judge looked at your driving record. If you hadn't had any driving offenses, the judge may dismiss that ticket with a stern warning. If you had a long history of driving offenses, then the judge may hold you responsible and may send you to driver's training and may hold you with the maximum amount of fines. So we look at officers' disciplinary history the same way. If an officer has not, had any disciplinary infractions, then we do know that we want to correct the officer's behavior. So our goal is never to punish. What we're trying to do is correct the officer's behavior. And if it was an issue where the officer, made a mistake and didn't turn the body-worn camera on, If they tried to turn it on and it didn't come on, then we kind of look at it that way.
Speaking of training, I think there was one, maybe two incidents that we sent in. And if you'll notice, in many cases we send in, we're never saying, hey, fire this guy or whatever.
Yes.
That's not our intent. But as you said, they make a mistake and say you need additional training. And I think in one or two cases, that was all we recommended for some of the officers. And, the reply was, well, we do train. And, been a funny preacher I am. I said, well, he must have missed those sessions, whatever. But, those incidents that, okay, you need to look at this. We feel you went a little bit out of line. I don't think you just totally violated policy, but maybe you need to go refresh. And many times that's what we recommended.
Yes, sir.
And I say to you, and you know, we've had more individuals in here that we've said, we've looked at it and you've been in wrong more so than police officers.
Yes, sir.
And we try to set that atmosphere. There are individuals who feel that there's nothing right coming out of the police department, but I'm not one of those. But I do know that there are instances that we see that really need to be looked at, and at some point in time, we'll try to pull those together. Like you said, this officer may need additional training in a certain area, and we'd like to be able to discuss that even,
Yes, sir.
So we're looking for a working relationship, because we do have individuals, and to you guys' credit, we looked at the numbers. The cases that we have coming before us are fewer. As a matter of fact, we're going to suggest in our next meeting that we're going to meet every other month. So we understand this, but yet we don't want to be lax in what we're saying. But I think this kind of meetings, that we can come and address the protected citizenry, same here, and so we're working with you. But we have 3 cases, I believe, that were, I guess, we mentioned, and I'll pull them up. One with Mr. James Bolden. You may be familiar with these. There's Claudette Taylor. There's Paul Garner, and there's Reginald Johnson. And these are some cases that we had questions about that did come before you. And my suggestion to them was, once they left here, to maybe give you a call, and you could bring some, solace to that. And I think 1 or 2 have, but it's a concern of ours that these letters came back to us that, hey, everything's good with it, when a board of 14 decided there are some issues that need to be dealt with.
So I respect the board's opinion, but as I said, I responded to every single point in writing, and most of it is very detailed. In regards to training, I think I've supported every recommendation. So if every single officer goes through in-service training, and what you recommend is already on the in-service training schedule, then we don't see, we agree with you, but the officer is receiving that particular training. We talked about, on this example of where you recommended that a bulletin go out at the time of that particular case, there was no policy. And we created a policy to address that behavior, and created a bulletin to educate the police officers on it. So, we will continue to review every case on a case-by-case basis in regards to, police officers coming before the board. You have the case file. There's a very thorough investigation conducted by ISD. So, the facts are there. So I don't, other than, we have met with someone in this room on a number of occasions on that particular case. And anyone else is definitely open. People contact my office almost on a daily basis, or they see me in the street, and they may have a concern about a case, and we review it and we discuss it.
Okay, good. And so, like this over here, I've actually referred people to you.
Yes, sir.
To show them that we have that working relationship.
Yes, sir.
So, any other questions from the board?
Yeah, just real quick. We talked about training a minute ago. I know you provided training for the board. Not everybody attended, but if you would, and this is the reason why I asked this question is, sometimes we get caught up on what's excessive and what's not. Can you give us the Reader's Digest version of use of force continuum Because I think sometimes, one board member may say that's excessive, next board member may say, well, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So it would be a lot easier if we were all on the same page.
So
when it
I
came to-
I can't give you a Reader's Digest version. So officers spend 6 months in the police academy. They go back every single year. There's policy that covers use of force. So the Reader's Digest version that I could best give you is that an officer is authorized to use the amount of force that is necessary, that is reasonably necessary to effect an arrest. And so, we definitely appreciate if every board member did attend a training session, because, if you don't, it's very difficult for us to agree because we have different levels of experience and training. I mean, I can't count the number of hours I've had on use of force training, the certifications that I have. So if you think about Lieutenant Colonel Clay, I make sure he follows through to make sure that his investigators are properly trained. They go to training. They just went through a training from a nationally recognized trainer on the difficulty of just watching body cam video because it skips frames and you don't see everything that the person that is there may see. Uses of force issues, but I'll just say this: we are open. I'm open to come back and review any cases that are of particular concern. We're open to put on any more training. We're open to attend training. If there's some training that the board would recommend and we go together, we can bring in someone else and sit there and go through. But ultimately, use of force, our information is best seated in the law and also what in our policies, and then the interpretation of what an officer's appropriate use of force is. And the Supreme Court has been very, very clear to tell us that that we should judge the officer's actions when we put ourselves in that similar situation that the officer was in. And although it's my job to Monday morning quarterback or judge something after the fact, we try to look at, and the guidance from the courts is that if the officer's actions were reasonable, given the circumstance that they faced at that particular time, that's the kind of benchmark that we should judge the police officer's action.
Director, if I may, we're actually in the process of planning an additional training session for those new board members who did not attend the original training session. I think we're trying to get that scheduled for August. So once that timeline is set, we'll be notifying the board.
And I actually bought a use of force simulator for you. Okay? It's a portable use of force simulator. You don't have to come to us. We'll come to you. Lieutenant Colonel Clay, the same instructors that teach our police officers. We'll come here and set it up and do some role playing. And then I think it's, it's a little different when it's on the street. And again, we watch body worn camera, we review the cases because we want our officers to use appropriate levels of force. And we there's probably there's no one in this room that are more critical than the behavior of a Memphis police officer than I am.
Can all members take the training again?
Absolutely. Any board member that feels the need to sit in the new training class, they're more than welcome to do so. And again, we'll be getting that date out to you. We're thinking it's going to be in early August.
And if you have recommendations, I mean, you may, and granted, this you can just say, hey, director, we have board members that went to this or saw this training. We think it'd be good training. We'll send some trainers out there. We'll take a look at it. If it's something that we want to bring here, we'll look at bringing it here. So we're definitely open to that.
Any other questions from the board? Director, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Any questions? Yes, questions?
We'll leave this with you. And if we need, matter of
We didn't
fact,
address any of the
let's
clerical
get
errors
each
in those
one of them.
letters or anything.
Yes, sir.
Really?
Thank you.
Whatever. Like, the fact that the date is wrong in my letter, like, there's so many clerical errors in that letter. So much for thorough review. Well, I mean, like, for instance, on my letter that he sent, there's dates that are wrong. There is information that says I've refused to give them video, which I did not. So if these are such thorough reviews of y'all's recommendations, and how are there such glaring clerical errors just in the letters that he sent in response? I mean, that was work, you know.
He's saying something. You think you can listen to him?
Yeah, so in the letter that y'all sent with regard to my case, there's like you're saying that there's thorough review of these recommendations made by this board, but then the letter that you sent back has some pretty glaring clerical errors. You cite the date of my incident as being December 2011, when it happened in November of 2013. You said that I withheld footage that I provided to this board but did not provide to Internal Affairs. The footage that was reviewed by Internal Affairs is the same footage that this board reviewed. So how can you on the one hand say that you're giving thorough attention to these recommendations, and then you send back a letter that's got such glaring errors in it? That kind of.
I don't have the letter in front of me, but
I bet they have I think they have a copy right there.
Documenting a date that was an error, and I think that was a clerical error or typo. As to the body camera or the video footage, I'm not familiar with the footage off the top of my head. Did the incident capture the incident?
It doesn't matter.
So supposedly the video captured the incident, or was indicated that the incident was captured on video, but the documentation of the video that was reviewed by Internal Affairs did not capture the incident.
It's the same footage that this board looked at and made the determination.
I guess what I'm saying is the incident was not captured on video based upon what Internal Affairs.
That's not what the letter says. The letter says I refuse to provide video footage that I had.
I can't speak to what you did or didn't do, but what I'm speaking to
The
is
director
whether or
did.
not, let me finish. What I'm speaking to is the incident was not captured on video based upon the video that Internal Affairs reviewed. So the incident was not captured.
I mean,
So I don't know
this is a
why
work,
that
so
is,
that's fine.
but the reality is the video which allegedly depicted and captured the incident involving you and the officers was not captured, and it was not presented to Internal Affairs. They did not review that video.
There was footage that was presented to Internal Affairs, and y'all did review it. Oh, I hope you reviewed it, but it was the same footage that was provided to this body.
What I said was this, for the record, the document that the director issued on that case, I think, referenced the fact that the incident was not captured on video. Now, if the CLERB board has video that actually captured the incident involving this gentleman, then Internal Affairs never reviewed that specific video. There was video, in fact, but the incident involving this gentleman was not captured on video and was not presented to Internal Affairs. That's what I'm speaking to.
Mr. Garner declined to allow investigators an opportunity to review.
How
This is the quote.
failed to get to Internal Affairs, I can't speak to that.
So what would be, here's that, if there is.
December 2008.
Every piece of video that we had nothing involved in human office. Even the video I had requested from one of y'all sent me a jump drive with the video. It's the same video that we had, and it did not have him in it at all.
But it's with regard to the case and the complaint. It has the officer on camera saying, like, I see you're over here filming, so I'm going to go ahead and put you under arrest for obstruction of a sidewalk. That's what the officer says. That was one of the things that this board used to make that determination that, in fact, our arrests were because we were filming the police. So what I'm saying is this is a work, and this is great that y'all came here and all, but I don't see that this really changes y'all's support of this board, or it doesn't.
Board, any other comments?
I'm sorry, I came in late, and if Director Rollins has said anything regarding Mr. Paul.
No.
Okay, so what was he referring to, Mr. Z?
Generalizations, what the judge did here, I wasn't recording the speech, but he talked about issues, how they're dealing with the board, et cetera, et cetera. That was a specific case that we're at a point that we don't know how to deal with that. I mean, you know, it's out of the board's hands. I mean, we agree with him, and he knows that.
I know, I just feel like it's emblematic
Yeah.
of
Well,
some of
we
the other
still-
issues
We
with
still
other
come to the
complaints that come
same
up.
way, some things clarified,
Yeah.
but there again, not everything. But good that he came, at least we had an opportunity to raise some questions relative to the overall acceptance or rejection of the board, and fairly comfortable, but there again, we've got these fine line issues that somehow are going to be worked out, and, you know, that's one of them. I think we have one, Judge, did you have a comment on your situation?
Well, if he didn't tell, regular Johnson, if he didn't tell y'all anything, then I don't think I need to just even say anything about it.
Yeah.
My case, if he didn't present to you all in writing what he was gonna tell y'all what happened to me when I met with him.
But
So
you're
I-
satisfied? Relative to yourself?
I'm satisfied, but I would like for it to have been in writing.
Yeah, well, you know, there again, here's where we are with the board. But, and you can tell everybody, I've been following up with you in the case, so.
Yes, sir.
I don't just leave them when I leave here. And so he called me the other day, he elated, and I was celebrating anyway, so. But we just got work to do, and I think we need to be, I guess, more intense on what we're doing. And we need to actually really raise questions at every response we get from the director. He's doing his job supposedly, but we've got a job to do. And the training, I was listening, he said, the body cam, he said, if that guy didn't turn his body cam on, we give him additional training. And I'm saying, that's all that we requested.
Yeah.
And some of these other issues is
But what
additional training.
what he
Yeah.
said was that if they've already had in-service,
Yeah,
he wasn't suggesting additional training. If it was in the in-service, he was satisfied.
yeah.
And so that means he's not following our recommendation.
Yeah, but I'm saying, he said, as a punishment for some, we don't fire them, we don't punish them.
Punish, they don't punish.
Don't
Yeah,
punish.
no punishment, we give them.
Correct.
We give them another training. He said, we should train them again.
But the whole attitude of
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah.
if they've had it in service and it's been covered in service,
Yeah.
then he's not following our recommendation. That's a whole attitude of, he's not going to follow the recommendation and it's a done deal. So I think we need to, and I haven't been here, but I think we need to consider how we,
Yeah. We've got to look at how we address them.
Right.
You know, what we ask for
right.
in those letters. Because I'm still, you know, good presentation, and I appreciate it, but not totally satisfied, because we got some disgruntled citizens here.
I'm always going to be
You know,
disgruntled.
well, Paul, we're praying for him.
I know, pray for him.
Yeah, he's a good guy. But we want to see that. And what I want to do, though, with inviting him here, is because people feel, well, the board's not doing, we're doing as much as we can do. And, but we want to make it even more known as we're going into the communities now to let people know what it's all about. But we need to have our facts. And again, I want to commend you all for showing up, because we almost called the meeting off, we were getting people sick and different things, but at least we had enough to come and make sure this happened. But again, we're working on it, and
We
we
know.
appreciate you guys taking it in. You make me want to keep coming. Okay? Let's do this very briefly. We have a case before us, and we want to make sure that we have enough time to deal with that. We have one case, I believe, and before we get there, we decided after, the caseload has dropped. The caseload has dropped. And we're looking at possibly in the next meeting, making a motion whether to meet maybe every other month and have 2 cases, go, you know, per meeting. So we're gonna look at that, and the board will decide, but just want to put that on the mind. Yes, sir.
How has the caseload dropped down? In what way?
Should give you the numbers. We have very few cases now.
Currently, we have approximately 4 cases that Mr. Robinson has already gotten from internal affairs that may potentially be cases that the board can hear. we do have to review them to make certain that they meet the guidelines as prescribed by the ordinance, that we can hear those cases. So once we review those, then we will schedule one or two more cases to be heard. But that's currently what we have right now that we're looking at possibly.
That's where we are.
I suggest that you turn.
Speak up, he said, speak up, cause of,
Oh.
yeah, okay.
I'm not following my own.
Okay, that's okay.
Basically, what I said was that currently we have approximately 4 cases that Mr. Robinson has already picked up from Internal Affairs, and we will have to review those to see if they meet the guidelines for the ordinance, to see if those are cases that we can present to the board. So those will be reviewed to see what the particulars are regarding those cases, and see if they fall within the prescribed guidelines, deadlines. Then that's what we have. Probably we'll have more. I've received a call today, right as I was getting ready to come to this particular meeting. So, but as of today, that's what we have.
And to add to that, even though we only have those few, that's why we're going to the community, because I'm sure there are people out there who would come to CLERB, but we've got to get beyond that image that they have that why go to CLERB when nothing's being done. So we've got to make sure the public knows that we are here and we are actually making an impact and getting through some of those excuses that are being presented that really, I feel, don't hold water. Not necessarily taking all the information that's given them, et cetera, et cetera. I think they do a good job of what they do, but I believe that what they do is not enough to satisfy, the community. Individuals will come, and we just need to be ready for them once they start. So,
Pastor White, can I ask you a question right quick before you go? Real quick. Anything that the police director told me when we met, shouldn't y'all know that?
we should.
Because he shouldn't have met me behind closed doors, which is all well and good, but I feel like that anything that he told me that it should have been told to this board. Have y'all asked that question?
It should be in paper. And what you do, go ahead and request that from him.
I did, they won't do it.
They won't do it. Okay, so that's, we can't just go hearsay. Because he said, well, I didn't say that. This guy's been bugging me for months.
Well, they called me and we met.
Yeah, well, I understand. Well, I understand the reason that there's a reason for not documenting it. I mean, they may follow through with it, but if they signed it, says that particular situation was in existence, and they denied it all these years, okay, and they document it, and they'll tell you how many other cases will come up against them, so I don't know if that's, you can tell us in the next meeting, we'll let you have a meeting, we can tell you, but as long as you're satisfied, but I know you want that documentation. Okay. What we want to do, we're going to go ahead and hear the case. Again, we appreciate you coming. Brief overview of your case. I'm just going to start with, says on May 2nd, 2017, about 8 p.m., Officer Eric Dobbins arrested Jonathan Jones outside the Oakport Mall, located at 4465 Poplar Avenue. Mr. Jones alleged that he was pulled from his vehicle and excessive force was used against him when he was placed in a chokehold by either Officer Dobbins or Sergeant Taylor. So I'm going to give you just about 5 minutes or so, just kind of add to that, or just let let me know why you're here and what occurred and how you got to this point. Pick up your own report.
May 2nd, at the Oakport Mall, me and two of my friends were walking around. Two of us had our wheels and one of us didn't. We were in City Gear and they told us to take off the wheels when we had to leave. So we asked them, was that in their policy that we could wear hoods in the store? And she told us that she would let us know that when she asked for a phone so she could call security. So she called security and security asked us to leave. So we left the mall and we left that store City Gear and went to the middle of the mall where we saw another security officer. And he asked us where we leaving and we told him that we weren't leaving, we were going to another store. When he asked us that, he told us to talk to an off-duty police officer. We ended up talking to him. He told us to walk and talk. So we were walking up the stairs and we were walking outside explaining what was going on. And he was just like, I don't really know what's going on. I'm trying to get into the building. So that was the end of that. My friend actually got into it with the security officer about something that was said and they had a verbal altercation as well as a physical altercation. After that, the security guard and the off-duty police officer actually went back in the building and me and my friends went to the car. When we went to the car, we got in the car and we parked the car in front of the building. When we did that, I made a phone call to the security officer and I let her know that my friend demanded an apology for the security officer smacking his hand.
Speak up a little louder.
After that, the female officer actually told us that she would let him know that, and I guess she did let him know, but when he came back outside, he didn't approach the car or anything. He didn't try to acknowledge anything about that situation. He actually just walked back in the building. So when he walked back in the building, I walked in after him and I asked him, can he come and get him an apology? He just kept walking. And then I said about 10 minutes after that, the police officer pulled up, but he actually pulled past my car. And then I guess he turned around and then he pulled behind my car. After he pulled behind my car, he briefed with the police officer and the security guard and asked them what was going on. They told the police officer that he wanted us banned from the mall wearing hoods or whatever. So the police officer told us to get out one by one and then he wanted to ban us from the mall. He wanted to see our ID. So I asked him why we were getting out the car. And at that point he was like, I'm not doing this today. He came on my side. One of my friends had already stepped out the car. He was sitting in the back seat. My other friend, he was about to get out the car and I was last. So by the time I asked him why we were getting out the car, he was like, I'm not doing this today. He came on my side of the car and he just grabbed me. He was like, get out the car. I was like, I can get out on my own. Let me go and I'll get out on my own. So he was like, no, we're not doing that. I'm going to get you out myself. So we were tussling back and forth. And the off-duty police officer ended up coming on the passenger side. And he ended up pulling my wrist. He pulled me by my wrist and pulled me out through the passenger side. And when I came out on the passenger side, I was tackled to the ground. When I was tackled to the ground, I was laying on one of my arms and my other arm was behind my back. So they had one arm in handcuffs and they were trying to get the other one. But I was letting them know that I cannot get off of my other arm because they were on top of me. So in that instant, they were choking me and I was letting them know that I can't breathe. So I ended up trying to move my arm and get my arm out of there, and they ended up putting me in handcuffs and putting me in the back of the car.
Any questions?
What do they find in your car when you say, you find anything in the car? What kind of,
I had two handguns. I'm a security officer, so I'm an armed guard. I actually had a my guns were on my person, or they were just in the car. That's all they found in the car were the guns. And one was under my seat, and the other one was like center console.
what kind of clips were the AK-47?
AR-15, but the AR-15 was in the car. but it was a Smith & Wesson 40 and a 30 revolver charge.
What time are you supposed to be at work tonight?
I was supposed to be at work at 9.
I'm just curious that you were walking to the Oakport Mall with a bulletproof vest on.
No, I didn't walk with it. I put the vest on when we got to the car.
Okay, so the vest wasn't on until you got to the car?
Yes.
That wasn't clear, so inside the mall, you were not wearing a vest?
No, I just had on it.
When did you put it on that?
Yes, sir.
So you went to your car, put the bulletproof vest on, and then come back to the mall to tell the security guard that he needs to.
No, I didn't go in the mall. I actually put the vest on after I came out the mall.
Right. But you
No,
put
I
the
didn't go
vest-
back in with the vest on.
But you went back to the mall and parked in front of the mall.
Well, I was still at the mall.
You drove to the front entrance of
Yes,
the
sir.
mall with your bulletproof vest on.
No, I put the vest on in the car after I parked.
We missed the point.
Your question is actually answered, yeah.
So you came out of the mall? drove to the
Without a
store.
bulletproof vest.
Yes, sir.
You
Then
went
you
to
put it
your
on.
car,
Yes, sir.
put a bulletproof vest on,
I parked the car, then I put the vest on.
and then what happened after that?
And then after that, that's when the police officer arrived. Shortly
Where
after
did you
that, the
put the
police officer.
bulletproof vest on?
When?
Yeah,
After I parked the car
parked the car where?
in front of the entrance.
That's what I've been trying to ask you all the time.
I mean,
And then you went and talked to the security guard
No, I talked to security guard before.
before you put the bulletproof
Yes,
vest
sir.
on.
I didn't go in the mall with the vest on.
But somewhere in the report said, they ended up thinking that maybe the vest was choking in the position you were in.
It's a
Because
small,
you didn't know who was choking.
yeah, I didn't
and
know
you
who was
said the
choking me, but it was the vest because it's a small vest. The vest is like, stops like right here. So it couldn't have been the vest, especially if I was laying down on it.
So you couldn't see. who
I
it
was face down, I was on my stomach.
Your face was down like that. And you
Yes, sir.
like,
So your friend got the scuffling with one of the,
Security officer.
before you all ever left outside the mall?
No, it was outside, it was outside.
You got it. And then you all went and got in the car after the
Yes, sir.
scuffle.
what was this cover about?
The security guard and the police officer, they said something about his mom, something like that. Some sexual things and some more stuff about that. So, they really just got into an altercation from that. I was telling them, let's go, because it wouldn't really work, like fighting out there, especially with the police officer out there. So,
Did you find out between now and when that happened? What was the mall's policy or that the store's policy on this?
still had no information.
I mean, y'all didn't try to check that out?
I had an attorney, but that's about it. Still didn't find anything out
You
about
didn't find
that.
out what the store?
No, sir.
Okay, all you had to do was call management, what's your policy with business?
There was a manager that actually called the security.
Okay, well, later on, y'all might need to look at that.
Yes, sir.
From the standpoint of, what is the mall's standard on business? Kids wear it. And if, that, to me, that's a silly thing. But, there been the altercation, when they came into the car, and, the various testimonies from what we got, they disagreed somewhat. Were those other young fellas near you when they had you?
One took off. I don't know where he went.
Have they caught him yet?
Guess he ran away. I don't know. I haven't seen him. That's the other one over there.
Well, y'all haven't seen him since then?
Haven't seen
Y'all
him.
need to find him, man. You might have seen something. But anyway, no, did he not see who actually had you?
I mean, he was out there. He said he was putting handcuffs when he got out the car. As soon as he got out the car, so
He didn't see who?
I'm sure he saw it because he was still out there.
He saw who's on or around there?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I was face down. I wouldn't know.
Y'all haven't talked about it, though?
I mean, we talked about it, but we haven't talked about that part.
Oh, okay. Well, any other questions?
Yeah, I got a couple
Yes,
questions.
sir.
Mr. Jones' preference is with statement that is very unfortunate, which led to a physical altercation. But what nightclub do you work at?
I was working at Pure Passion.
Pure Passion. Y'all got rules at club, right?
Yes, sir.
And when you ask somebody to leave the premises, you expect them to leave the premises, right?
We were never told to leave the premises in the first place.
They say he had bandaged you from the mall.
No, he told the police officer, but he never told us to. And he told us to walk and talk, so that's why we went outside.
So when they took you outside, nobody said, don't come back in here,
No,
you can't comply with you.
He was a police officer. I'm pretty sure he had a body camera on, so he didn't tell us anything like that.
Okay. So the fact that you went to the car, put your bulletproof vest on, I mean, that would suggest to me that, I mean, you was expecting, you know, some type of altercation, get guns in the car, everything else. So the point that I'm trying to make is, it clearly appears that mall security, you know, instructed you guys to leave. The officers that arrived on the scene, you know, instructed you guys to get out the car. And, you know, you being a security guard, I would expect that when a patron doesn't do what rules of the clubs state they should do, that, you know, you have to ask people to leave and pass, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if one of your patrons goes to the car and put on the bulletproof vest and the guns in the car.
They didn't know I had a bulletproof vest on.
I mean, but
So
we,
I got you.
they're stationed
I got
there.
you.
And that's the number I called. That's why I spoke with the female officer. There was the officer that came in the city here and told us to leave. And then she told me she was with the other male officer.
so somebody did actually leave there, right?
No, she asked us to leave that store. She told us to take off the hoods and leave that store, which was city.
And you chose not to take off the hood.
We chose to leave.
So why didn't you leave? I guess that's the point that I'm
That's
trying
what
to
I'm saying.
make.
We left the store. She told us to leave the store or take off the hoods. She told us to take off the hoods and leave the store. So we elected to just.
So when
leave
somebody
the store.
says, let's walk and talk, and they walk you outside, I mean, shouldn't that suggest to you being a
the mall
security
is a
guard
public
that
place, though. I was never banned from the mall. I wasn't trespassing if I was never banned. I was never told to leave the mall. I was never kicked out of the mall.
I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna be through with it. I mean, you've been a security guard, I mean, at a place like Pure Passion, you know how strict the rules should be at the end of the day, because any given night, things can just pop off in Pure Passion, right? And based on what we've seen at Oakport Mall, any given day, things can pop off at Oakport Mall. So I guess what I'm trying to say, and it has nothing to do with which way, you know, vote, you know, one way or the other, I'm just trying to get an understanding. It would have been so much easier to leave than look up the number to the security guard, call the security guard, demand an apology, then go back to the mall, then when police arrive, then you get a police and staff, and then you have to be forcibly removed, you know, from the car at that particular point.
So what would you suggest in that instance when you put his hands on the
I
security
would
officer? Because it's an
pull
unarmed security
my
officer.
hoodie off, or if I didn't want to pull my hoodie off, I would just left them all, period.
He wasn't a Batman pulling his hoodie off. He didn't have a hoodie on. He shouldn't have put his hands on it. As an unarmed security officer, you're not supposed to put your hands on nobody at all. I did unarmed security with my arms on. You're not supposed to put your hands on nobody.
Mr. Jones, let me tell you what concerns me about this. I know I heard you say that you were asked, are y'all leaving the mall? And you said, no, we're not through shopping yet. That's in your statement. Isn't that right?
Right.
So at some point, they've asked you to leave. They've asked you either to take your hoodie off or to leave. And your response was, well, we're not through shopping and I'm not taking it off. That happened, didn't it?
I didn't tell him I was taking the hood off.
But you said, well, okay. But then this is what we're talking about. I'm looking at the background. This is what it says in front of what I've got, and I'll be happy to show it to you. It says, Mr. Jones and his friends returned to the mall entrance to wait and to confront the two security officers.
That wasn't told to y'all.
Okay, but
me, that was told by the police.
I'm gonna ask what, I mean, but is that what happened? You go to your car, you put on your bulletproof vest, and then you go to wait to confront the security officer.
I put on the vest after I bought this. It's not like that.
Okay. I think you understand that we're all concerned that you are still there, and now you're wearing a bulletproof vest, and you're still there. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And anybody that's putting a bulletproof vest on either is at work or is anticipating something bad's going to happen. I'm a bulletproof vest on. You see how that comes across? I'm not saying that you were going to do anything. I'm saying That's the message it sends. That I'm wearing a bulletproof vest, and I want to interact with somebody, and I'm not happy here. You see that?
Not really.
Not at all?
I didn't get out the car with the vest on.
Okay, all right.
He didn't know I had a vest on.
But you knew you had it on.
Exactly.
See, you knew you had loaded weapons in your car, didn't you?
Exactly.
And you knew you could get to them quickly if you needed to, didn't you? You knew all that,
It
didn't you?
wasn't like that. I got hands.
You knew you had a loaded weapon within arm's reach of your car, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you knew you had a bulletproof vest on, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
And you knew that you wanted to talk to the security guard because you thought he owed somebody an apology, isn't that right?
It wasn't me that wanted to talk to him.
Is what I just said accurate, that you thought an apology was owed for the way you've been treated, and you thought that while you were wearing your bulletproof vest within arm's reach of a loaded weapon? Is that true?
What's the question?
You were in your car wanting an apology for your friend. You had on a bulletproof vest, and you're within arm's reach of a loaded weapon while all this is taking place. Is that true?
That's true.
Do you see how quickly that could have exploded into something bad happening?
I mean, I'm licensed, so I really don't.
That bother you? You're not worried about it?
I mean, I wasn't worried about that because I didn't know the police were in the first place.
You appear to be a very bright young man. However, when you parked in front of the entrance, what was the goal then? You positioned yourself to park in front of the entrance. What were you thinking at that point?
He was just gonna come out, talk to him, and it was gonna be the end.
So the problem you had inside, and you had another problem outside, and then you requested another problem to come outside?
No, it wasn't really a problem on my end.
Well, even for your friend, it was a problem for him. So you were inviting a third opportunity for something to pop off?
No, because I had already talked to my friend about that. I told him that we were gonna get it resolved because he could have got worse than that, but I told him we were gonna get it resolved.
Okay, and tell me what the resolve was.
He was just gonna come out, apologize to him, and that was gonna be the end of it.
And how were you going to ensure that he was going to, how were you going to ensure that he was going to apologize?
How are you gonna
How was
persuade
I
him
gonna
that he
ensure
was
that
wrong?
You asked for an apology, and how were you going to ensure that he was going to apologize?
Well, that's why I called the female officer to ask her about it. I didn't know if he was or not.
The woman
I mean,
officer.
if he was, yes, ma'am. I didn't know if he was or not, even if he was, but if he wasn't, I mean, that was gonna be the end of it.
So the apology you would have driven off.
I would have driven up.
And if he had come outside and not apologized, then what?
I still would have had to drive off.
You appear to be a bright young man, but I don't know that you followed the line of thinking. That could have escalated. And as they said, now you're wearing a vest. You have 2 guns at your reach. It just could have turned into something far worse than, this could have been a whole different kind of case. And I think that you know that by now.
Especially where it's in clear case.
And I'm sorry that you were put in a position where you were physically, whatever. I'm sorry about that. But some of this could have been avoided if you just had, after you're being offended, driven off. And I apologize for the officer. I'll give you the apology that you want. But this was heading somewhere that could have been far worse. Far, far worse. And you're smarter than that.
When you say that, did you go to the officer and tell him that he needs an apology?
I asked, well, with the security guard, he actually came back outside and he walked back in the building.
Correct. And then you went back to him and said, hey, you owe him apology.
I tried to get his attention, but he kept walking. I said, hey.
Okay, and that time you walked right to him?
He was too far. I couldn't even get to him.
And so,
but you were following him. You were out of the car then?
I walked in the building, yes, sir.
Okay, and which means he saw you that you were wearing a vest at that time?
No, not the vest.
Okay, so if he...
Put on the vest out.
Okay, so which means if you followed him and he was not paying attention to you, you went back in the car and you did not know the cops were there, which means in that short period of time you wore your vest.
In that short period of time, I actually put my vest on, and that's when the police came.
Okay, all right. So,
and I put it on inside the car, so I ain't had to do that.
Okay.
and the police come and say, get out of the car. And you want to know, why are you asking me to get out of the car?
Exactly.
So is there any particular reason you didn't just get out? And I'm not...
Because they said we were banned from the mall and we were trespassing, and at that point we weren't
We weren't trespassing.
Okay.
And we weren't banned from the mall either.
And that's the reason you didn't get out of the car?
No, I just asked him, because he told us to get out one by one. One guy got out, and the other guy got out. And before I could even get out, when I asked him why, he was on my side for me out.
You
But
have a
didn't-
voice, but, no.
Didn't you get away from him and going to the center of the car? It says in the report.
Yeah, on this side, he was on the driver's side, and he was trying to pull me out. I was sitting up like this, and he had a hold of me right here. So he was constantly pulling me like this, but I was turning like this, like, get off of me, I can get out on my own. He would just let me get out, I can get out on my own. But he was like, I'm gonna pull you out, you don't wanna get out on my own. Okay, so the other officer ended up pulling me out on this side when I was letting him know. He ended up grabbing my wrist because my wrist was still over here.
So what you're saying is you wanted to come out, but he didn't give you a chance to come out?
He didn't give me a chance to come out
He
because
just pounced on you.
he did. Because that's after I asked him why though. That's why he came over. Because he asked us to get out one by one.
4 or 2?
Just for
Mr. Jones, I could be wrong, but I see this as a situation where I'm a security guard. I know what a security guard can and can't do. I know what police can and can't do. And I'm gonna stand my ground.
Did you suffer any injuries at all?
I had a couple cuts, scrapes, and my ear was like really.
When you're low?
It was.
Did you just respond pretty much?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he did.
Thank you.
Did you understand what he asked you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Close that thing and next.
I said that I saw this as a situation that he had the attitude that he was a security guard and that he knew what a security guard could and can't do, and he knew what the police officer could and can't do and make him do. And he said pretty much.
Or was the police who blew you out or security guard?
It was police officer. And when they responded,
Yeah, police officer. It's unfortunate that it escalated. In the mall. Was there, and I understand with all that goes on, everything that's on the media and whatever, certain rights, etc. But many of the experiences we have, we learn lessons from, hopefully. How old are you?
23.
You are not going to. And I say to that, there are certain things that we have to see. First, the first thing, my kids are just say, okay, take the wheel on. It's not that important. Now, if it is that important, the next thing, being the shoes guy, knowing the law, finding out what's the policy here, what's the policy. He was armed, he was ready. And when you pull, you were in reach of your gun. Okay? It was where they could have very well have made that an issue. We called him out, he was ready to go. And when we pulled him, and boom, boom. And the other partner's gone. They hadn't caught him yet. And the brother here, he was in the other car. Could have been the other way. But knowing the law, you're a security guard, you're a law abider. You want to make sure people do what's right. And sometimes because of our position, we feel we can write this. But, sometimes the situation may not be where we can figure it out control. And it's fortunate, no one was really hurt in that. It's very unfortunate, and I think they acted unprofessional. They should very well have told you, look, this is what's going on. There's security. There are other ways. There are mall managers, etc., that you can report to. And with what's happening, all over, I think you would have got better results getting some individual manager or not, jobs taken and security guards replaced based upon the way they were treating the guys. So, that's after the fact. It's very unfortunate, but as they were saying, you're blessed both of you guys, you know, I see you, again, I played preach part of it from the chair, but I see you as my kids. Now, I don't want anything to happen to you. That's very unfortunate, that you have to go through that. I mean, what's wrong with the hood? But unfortunately, a lot of guys are robbing and stealing and killing with hoodies. So we understand their side too.
Yes, sir.
They don't know who's coming in my store. And made up some rules for their, you know, store policy or what. So that's kind of what finds us.
Yes, sir.
That's my little spill on it. Maybe I'll.
I just want to say, man, it's obviously you're sharp, you're smart, you're bold. I think if you channel that energy in the right direction, you probably see the learning to sit right. Absolutely.
And I don't think, and we'll make sure it's clear, I use this term, there are wrong ways to do the right thing. And I think this is a situation, you want to do what was right, but it wasn't the right way to do it. Okay? Yes. So you're not wrong, you're not judging you. We hate what happened, hope it doesn't happen again. But coming here, we want you as a young man growing up in the city, as they said, very bright young man, you got a job, you're doing it. So, you know, just start thinking twice before acting once and looking at those issues. Yes. So I want to apologize to you. And I think that's what you were looking for the way you've been treated, and hopefully it won't happen again. But the next time, raise those questions. Say, okay, excuse me, show me your policy. Well, I'm going to show you, okay, then they've got a ball. And just follow through. And what you do, you start cutting down on that for people just indiscriminately look at you, make an opinion, and, you know, you are frustrated. You shouldn't have to go through that. So, you know, that's just kind of my spiel on it. A lot of things may have been right in everybody's eyes, but I think they were done the wrong way. Okay? So you can keep your inside. That's what ain't right. Whatever. But that's kind of why I am. But we want to listen to, you know.
I'm ready to make a motion on it.
Okay. So we got to make sure.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, my Chinese.
Body cam footage, okay.
Sir, would you like to see body cam footage?
Yes.
Body cam footage.
Okay, go ahead. Okay.
Takes a couple seconds for the volume to kick in.
No sound, right?
Yes, you do have volume. Give it a couple seconds.
That's you.
Wait, no, sir. Okay, all right, we're gonna do this. Come on.
Hey,
come on.
get your
Come
hands
on.
off of me, bro. Get your hands. You
Get
gotta
out
let
of
me
the
get
car.
out.
No.
Get your
Get
hands
out
off.
of the car. Get
Bro,
out of
get
the
your
car.
hands off me.
Down.
Get your hands off me.
No, you don't control the
Get
situation.
your fucking hands off of me.
Get out.
Get your hands
Get
off
off the car now.
Get your hands
Do
off
it now.
Get your hands off me. Bro, get off of me, bro.
Get out the car. Get out the car.
I'm recording this shit, bro. Get off of me,
Get out
bro.
the car now.
Bro, if you don't get the fuck off of me, bro. Get off of me. Get off of me. I'm gonna get out. Bro, you don't get a chance to get out the fucking car. Get off of me.
No.
Get off of me. 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 If you don't get out, you ain't let me get out.
You don't get a chance.
You didn't let me get out. You didn't let me get out.
I said,
Get the fuck off of me, bro. Get the fuck off of me, bro. You feel something? Hey, bro. I'm a fucking kid. If you don't fucking get your hands off of me, bro. Get your hands off of me, bro. You not let me get out the car. Get the fuck off of me. Let me get out. I get out on my own. Let me go. Let me go and I'll get out on my own.
I'm not letting you go.
Then I don't want to get out. You didn't even get a chance to get out.
You coming with me.
Get off of me,
Come on.
bro.
Come on, get out.
Get off of me, bro.
Come on. Come on. We're not letting you go.
Get off of me, bro.
We're not letting you go.
You're not letting me get out.
Well, I think you like to get a lot there.
Give me your hand. Why the fuck is you trouble? Give me your hand. God, bro, give me your hand. Give me your hand. No, what the fuck is it? I can't fucking breathe. Turn your hand over, man. Turn your hand over. Give me your hand. Give me your hand. Give me your hand. Give me your hand. Turn over on your stomach. Get on your stomach. Get on your stomach, man. Get off my fucking neck. Get on your stomach. Get on your stomach. Get on your stomach. No, sir, you're not. Choke the shit out of me. What the fuck, fool? This is why you don't give me a fight. Give me the arm. I don't take all that. Give me the damn arm. Give me all the fucking arm. And don't take all that. All you have to do is get the hell out of the car and give us a knife. You cut it off. You don't get no way. I tell you to do something, you respond. Why the fuck are y'all fucking squishing me? What the fuck, bro? I can't fucking breathe. Give me your hand. What fucking arm is that? Give me your hand. You're trying to break my hand. No, I'm not. I'm trying to put the cup on. You put my fucking arm, bitch. God, man. It don't take all that. All these little damn young ass kids trying to be hard. They don't take all that. What the fuck wrong with you, bro? I didn't fucking choke anybody. Anybody choke? Oh, God, you didn't fucking choke. You didn't fucking breathe. You breathing. You can't fucking breathe.
That's enough.
Bullshit, man.
Okay, that's enough.
You're a security guard? You wanna come back over here to the city?
Well,
Butter that gun had come out from under that seat. You might not be sitting here today.
yeah, that's right on course. Well, hopefully lesson learned.
Had you seen this before? What'd you think as you watched it? What's your opinion now? What's your stance now? Just
I still remember.
what do you think about what happened now? He asked you several times, get out of the car, get out of the car. I know he had his hand on you, but you're a security officer. So you know PPCT, pressure point control tactics, or all that kind of thing. You've been trained in that. He asked you several times to get out of the car.
Sometimes, you're right, and I read it. I didn't want to bring all that in. I read it. I'm a fucking kid. I mean, so you got a vest on. You overhear what is, once the offender found a gun, I mean, it could really have escalated into something much more serious than what we're dealing with. And it's unfortunate, there again, the mall issue, hate that happened, but it just escalated into something that could have been even more tragic. And, there again, you guys, I apologize for the whole incident, but then learn a lesson from this. Learn a lesson from this. I mean, I'm tired of seeing young guys in jail or dead. I'm pretty sure some competent families. Out of just a nice evening, it could have escalated into something much more tragic. And I listen to them. Now, they wrestle. I've seen some situations where they wouldn't have been that nice. I mean, I'm serious.
We didn't observe any punching, and normally they hit you in the ribs. I mean,
whatever the choke is, unfortunately, because you still have to breathe and talk and use most of your vocabulary, and don't let them know what you thought about it. But there again, we're going to sustain, and two, they cleared you of trespassing, so there's no charges against you, neither felony or misdemeanor. So it worked out good for you and all concerned. And most of all, I'm elated that it didn't escalate into something much more serious than what we saw. Because man, as a preacher, I don't know, I might have could have lived. No, I'm just kidding. It was just, you know, it was just a situation. And they knew, you know, what was going on. They knew they had the body cam. So they're very careful not to do, but you made it pretty difficult, man. I got a big bull, and I can put handcuffs on her easier than they were trying to put them on you. So, you know, I just take it that a lesson learned. Anything you want to say, though, that you want to say before?
They came from India, where I'm originally from. And obviously coming to a mall, they wanted to take pictures. We started taking pictures, and a security officer approached us and said, "You cannot take pictures." I could take a stand and, "What? You're telling me not to take pictures? How dare you?" I could do that. Instead, I said, "Okay, we won't do that." And he did not ask us to get out. He didn't call the cops or anything else. Do you think that if you would have taken your hoodie off, things would have been different?
Yes, sir. They would have.
And you could have made complaint to the store, you could have made complaint to the security company, you could have made complaint to the mall, and you still can.
You did say you had an attorney.
I did.
How long have you?
He's working on some other stuff. It's taking him a while. But I
We
know if I still
looked
do.
at- we just-
Going to the mall.
Okay, can we have a motion relative to this case?
Not sustained? Notice that sustained.
Okay.
Not sustained.
Noted by the board, motion to not sustain, or to sustain the charge, not sustain the complaint. Not sustain the complaint. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the majority has it. I don't think we have to go by the list. And again, me personally, I want to apologize for this having happened to you. Just be of good mind. So there's an ideal world, and I had this situation where there's an ideal world. So yeah, I'll be able to do that. But we got a real world, and that's the real. Okay? So we have to do in a different way. But there are steps you can take. You know, when you feel you've been mistreated, they're doing it to Starbucks, they're doing it to different places where people are not treated right by salespersons, etc. And so that's how you deal with it, okay? Now, he says, I don't like that one, it's crazy people, it'll work, okay? Then, we appreciate you coming, appreciate you coming, okay?
How old are you, young man? 20.
Okay. Okay, man, I love you, and again, good luck.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Can we approve the minutes from last meeting?
Yeah, 90 minutes from last meeting, have you all read it? Okay, everybody read it, any changes as relates to the meeting from the last minute? From last meeting? You got a motion to?
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Moved and second that minutes from last meeting be approved, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Accepted. Again, we want to say to you, we're going to get you letters as to what time we'll be meeting, next meeting, and also hopefully we'll have the dates for the additional training. I'm going to take it again myself, but I think it's good for us, because when we come in, in these kind of situations, it's very unfortunate that you have that to happen. And but I think he learned a lesson. I think we have to. But we're judgmental, but there's some things that happen. And you know, it happens, and it's very unfortunate. But then again, that's why we're here.
Did anybody bring up Mr. Charlie Morris? You know, he passed away.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he passed away. The funeral was,
Oh, yeah.
Charlie
Mr. Charlie Morris.
Charlie Morris.
Okay, I didn't know.
I think the film is Monday, I'm not sure where.
I'm not sure, I'll check and see.
I know that he was very, very.
Miss Marie Finney, one of our board members, lost her father. And so there's a lot to be concerned about, pray about. things people going through. I've had several deaths since we met, but then, you know, we're here. So let's kind of keep them in mind.
May want to begin the next meeting with a moment of silence for Morris. Concerned.
Ms. Wilson, maybe we can send his family a letter of condolence.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Should we be concerned about job security? I understand Kent Conway is trying to shut down the CLERB. Yeah, I saw it on Live at 9.
There's nothing to do.
Well, you find me another part-time job. I think it was Live at 9. Yes, probably.
Well, they tried to get Worth Morgan to do it. He wasn't cut out for the job, so this is. They tried to get Worth Morgan to do it last year.
Yeah, he wouldn't even show up for me.
Yeah, well,
He tried to get
I called
it
them.
last year.
I talked to them about it. They need to give us equal time,
That's what it is.
and maybe one of us is on there too. I appreciate it. You gotta take my money.
As you see, Mr. Chair, I am present and I would like that to be noted in the roll call too.
If someone still has a role, we need to get that because Mr. Sandeep need to.
I haven't signed it either.
Sign in.
Okay.
And also, I've gotten notice that the civilian review, the civilian training is going to occur. The training for the citizens of Memphis will take place, I think, starting September 4th. I'll send that out to all of the board members, along with the information that Attorney Salim left. He left a couple of booklets, but he is going to send me some more so that we can distribute those to all of the board members. And then there was one other document that he left. It was only 3, I believe. Chairman White has one. So I will scan that and forward that in to all of the board members so that you will have a copy of that as well. And also in your packet, I put the training for Nicole, and just in case somebody's still interested.
Yes, of course.
I want to
No, not yet.
consider.
The city owes me that.
So, in the event someone's interested, because the deadline to get the early bird registration is July 30th. You still must be approved by the city in order to travel if you want reimbursement. If not, then you can go ahead and plan your trip without the approval of the city. So I just wanted to, those couple of things, I just wanted to note those for the board. And one last thing is that we talked about in the last meeting is that with Mr. Marcus Walker's case, that we wanted to pursue the subpoena power. So I understand that we are getting a council liaison, and I will be reaching out to that person so that we can get, there really isn't a document, but we have to submit a letter with all of the board members' signature on the letter, and then that document will go to city council for them to review it along with a copy of the case file. And then they will in turn get back with us to let us know if they will provide the subpoena power that we're requesting. So I just wanted to give you an update on that.
So now may I speak?
May you speak? Of course you can.
Thank you. So based on the last whole conference, the reimbursement papers were given and they kind of disappeared somewhere. Even although it was the last administration, anyway, so I believe that the city owes that to me, but I already raised my hand and nobody else did. So
Based on you not being heard.
everybody's scared, I know. So yes, so you have my name.
You will have to complete the application. There is an application process that you must complete.
All right, so can you forward that to me, please?
And also, the chairman, because the city simply doesn't have the funding to send everybody, so the chairman will work with anybody who has expressed an interest in going in terms of making certain that that person's name is submitted for approval or reimbursement.
And who approves that?
I think the executive division will approve that.
So you mean the mayor?
He's part of the executive division. But he is over the executive.
Please email that to me.
Yes, sir.
Did y'all get any response to your letter to the mayor?
To the mayor, yeah. I've got a meeting set up with the mayor from that. As a matter of fact, Monday.
Who all's meeting with him? Just you?
Yes, the mayor himself. Of course I know. As good as I got something to get in there. I've got sued against the city, though. I'm being blessed for
I mean, you've got sunshine law kicking in. I guess it's more than one.
I'm sure they can work that out. I've got a meeting and they can deal with the sign, whatever. But I've got a meeting with them there relative to the letter that was sent them. So I'm sure they'll work that out, and if the meeting has to have information on it, they'll get it out there.
And I heard Miss Virginia mention about funding, like there wasn't funding for Sandy or something or other, which kind of brings to mind a question. I know you guys, I guess, have a certain 200,000 or whatever it is in y'all's budget for CLERB. Have you got a breakdown of that you could post? Like, what your